I'm Shwa, and you are listening to Light Up with Shwa, a weekly podcast to open our hearts and minds on a journey with me. Good evening, Maxine.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm good. A little too cold, but basically good.
Good. Feeling cold or down with the cold?
No, just feeling cold. I'm thinking California, and this is too cold.
Ah, you're spoiled, I think, now, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So, thank you for taking out time.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it. And I've been meaning to talk to you, and I'm glad that we have found some time.
Good.
Yeah. Tell me briefly about yourself, who you are, and what do you do, and then we can move on from there.
I have been retired. I took an early retirement about 8 years ago because our children moved to California and we want to be with them. So both my husband and I decided to retire. I was basically a teacher and gerontologist, meaning I was an adult educator for 30-something years, starting in California where I am from and continuing when we moved to Boston about 30 years ago. And I very much enjoyed leading groups that I called older and growing, that in the process of growing older, how do you continue to grow? And I wrote a book about this called Elder Voices.
Oh.
Beside my work, I am a very active international folk dancer. I am very involved with my synagogue, which is Temple Beth Zion in Brookline, and very involved with adult learning there. I'm also, though I am very traditionally Jewish, I'm also a part of a Buddhist meditation group that meets in Newton, where I live. And it's very interesting how Buddhism informs my own practices Jewishly, as well as adopting new practices. And the other thing that's very important to me is I've become, in my retirement years, very involved with CMM, Cooperative Metropolitan Ministries, a interfaith organization that combines activities and projects and a lot of outreach to both Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Baha'i, humanists, and other people. And also, I'm an avid gardener. Love that. But wow. The most important thing I love is to be with my husband and my 2 children.
Wow, wonderful. I didn't know about your folk dancing. International dancing means what?
International folk dancing, and I specialize in dances from the Balkan countries, from Romania, Macedonia, Bulgaria, Hungary,
wow.
Do some Greek dancing, do some Turkish dancing, and of course Israeli dancing, which isn't the Balkans, but I started out with Israeli and then went to international, which
What do you
mean
by Israeli dancing? Would it be Jewish dancing or Israeli dancing?
Yes, it's literally dances from Israel, ever since statehood.
Wow.
And it combines dances from the immigrants who came to Israel. In fact, the very popular dance, Hora, which you probably have heard of, the Israeli Hora, Jewish dance, comes from the Romanian dance, Horo, which means circle dance. So a lot of the dances are circle dances, but I also do couple dances and line dances.
Wow. So you still do it, like, actively now?
Regularly, yes.
Oh, wow. So why haven't I seen you doing that? You have not invited me.
I don't know, because people can work together but not know all those wonderful secrets about each other.
I know. You have to invite me. I have to come and watch your... Oh,
sure.
Definitely. No wonder you are slim and smart. I don't
know about the smart.
Slim, smart is used in the rest of the world for the fit body, when you are fit. So that's another interesting thing that we have here is the connotation and the context of the words that are used in the United States and versus, another part of the world. But yeah.
I also do yoga regularly, and I think that really, really helps. In fact, as an older adult myself, I'm in my 70s, I do yoga, I would say religiously, every day.
You're in 70s? Sorry? Seriously?
Yes. I'm 70 plus.
Oh,
and
wow.
I learned yoga maybe 45 years ago. Used to take classes, and then for a long time having, child rearing and everything, I stopped. But now I'm back to it, and I took enough classes to refresh myself, and I give myself yoga classes every day, probably 6 days a week, 6 mornings a week.
Wow.
And even got Len to do it with me.
Oh, nice. That's wonderful.
I think that's really, to tell you the truth, also keeping me in shape, because it's strengthening, and it really helps flexibility, and most importantly, or as importantly, balance.
So do you...
balance is always,
So do you meditate also?
I do. I do. Well, I'm in this meditation group, and it's taught me how to meditate. And not only do I meditate, but I lead a meditation group for homeless individuals in Waltham.
Oh, wow. There's so much stuff I didn't know. I have been working with you through
Well,
wonderful.
We're focused on the task of working when we're together, and we don't always share the fullness of who each other is.
That's true. That's wonderful to know that. Wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so let me get to the parenting, and then we can get into what you, you mentioned that how you lead the meditation and all. So that's a good work that you're doing. I know that you have 2 children. How old are they, and they are not at home anymore. That's what I understand, right?
Right. My daughter, who's the oldest, Gila, which means joy in Hebrew, just had her 38th birthday.
Oh.
And my son, Ami, his full name is Ami Chai, which is Hebrew for My People Lives. He's 36, and they both now live in California. My daughter's been living there for a year, my son for 17 years, right after high school.
Wonderful. And that's why you are always flying there.
That's why I'm always going to California.
Okay, nice. Before you became a parent, did you educate yourself? Did you decide intentionally when you should be a parent and how you want to, play this role for your children?
I wouldn't say that I was conscious in parenting. I think I was a novice, and it was unknown territory, like it is for so many people. The good news is that my husband and I think very much alike and share our values together. So we were always in touch with each other about how to raise our children. And we had different views. We're different people, different backgrounds, coming from different families. But we always checked in with each other about, do you think this is the way to do it? Whether it was, with the baby about sleeping or crying. And then in the more tender years of preteen and teenagehood, which were very challenging years, we always talked about it and blended our perspectives. And I think that was the tool that we had, or the skill that we created together, that allowed us to parent as well as we possibly could. Our best behaviors came forward because we were a united front with our children.
Excellent. So you think that being a parent, one parent is good, but having 2 aligned together really makes a difference?
Huge difference. And I think that we also took the best of what we experienced being children to parents and tried to eliminate the worst. Because as all children, we're critical of our parenting, of our parents, in some ways. And I think that I consciously did not do some of the things that were difficult for me, especially for my mother. She was a stay-at-home mom. She didn't have a lot of interest nor a lot of friends, and I didn't see her as the most positive role model. My father was. Not only was he a professional, but he was very active in our synagogue. He volunteered. He did so many activities. And because I was so close to him and so affirmed by him, his model of being a good parent is one that I followed, which included being one who gave advice when asked, and when not asked, not pursuing that, respecting a child. And even as my father was dying right before he was 94 years old, I let him know how much he influenced me. One of our last conversations was about that, and he, to my great surprise and joy, said, "And you very much influenced me."
Oh,
and what that meant is that I helped him parent me. And I think my children do that, because there are times that they will say, "That is not what I want to hear right now, Mom. Can you just accept where I am right now? And I know that in time I will need your advice, but right now I don't." So I think I transferred that skill of waiting for them to come to me and telling me how to parent them, because as you know, I'm sure, you have two children and they're two totally different individuals, and each one needs something different.
Yep.
So it was good that my children learned from me what I learned from my father, that we can influence how our children take our influence.
That's a very nice and a different way of saying and a perspective. I really appreciate what you just said. So I would like to say again that, it must be that you were a good listener also in that process, and then you knew how to back off or give space to your children, obviously.
Right. I can't say I did it all the time by any means. I know I made mistakes, and I know there were times I offered when it was not solicited. But my father was an amazing learner from me. I remember once I was in a very bad way for lots of different things, and he just said, "Well, why don't you just get a job and stop being a hippie?" And I said, "That is not helpful to me right now. What I need from you is to listen and to just be caring for me." And he just said, "I will really try to do that." And then checked in with me a day or two later, "Am I doing what you need?" So I learned that, and as a result, my kids will say to me, "I really appreciated that you just listened," or "I appreciated that you took the time to work with me over this and didn't get upset." So to the best of what I can, I've tried to transfer that quality, which I thought was very effective, to my children. Maxine,
I really thank you for this nugget, this important, iconic nugget you just gave us, because this is so important, I think, from many aspects for a parent from any culture or religion. And listening to you is helping me also with my adult children, that how I was trying to do something like this, but I will be more conscious of it. So that's wonderful. Good. That's very, very nice. A good lesson that your father taught you and kind of learned from you, and it's like a two-way street. It's never, definitely. It's not one parent, but that means that he was conscious, or he was paying attention to you, that he was not just talking over you or just expressing his side. He was ready to listen and observe you also in the process, and that's where we usually miss, in whether it's listening or in our relationships, I guess.
My father and I walked together, so when I would visit them, we would be walking, and I think that created the space. It was not in our home. It was we shared that activity together, and today when we talked earlier, I was out walking. I do walk all the time. And I think that to create special space to be with a parent is very important. Outside the home, one-on-one. And yes, my father was a good listener. He was a good learner. And we just had deep affection for each other. And, you know, the last thing I'll say about that is because I took risks with my father to say that, Dad, this is not what I need. This is what I need. It allowed me to take risks with men. And in fact, I took a risk with Len and told him this is what I need, not this, because I learned that worked.
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
So it was a very, very important lesson that I learned, and my father and I actually learned it together because I could not do this with my mother. I could only do it with my father because my mother was not emotionally ready for that kind of exchange.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for this. I
Sure.
just can't stop talking about this same topic. It's wonderful. Very nice. So I guess that means, so what is the feedback from your children other than that they told you when you can come in and when can you give them space? So their feedback today, I assume that you have a good relationship with them?
I have a very good relationship, and so does Len. Len has an equally good relationship, even though we're very different. I would say that the last 2 or 3 years, what I'm consciously now, through meditation, through getting older, and hopefully a little bit wiser, is I still can be very reactive. Like if my daughter will say, I don't want to do this, I'm going to stop teaching or something, I would say, oh my gosh, how can you do that? This is da-da-da, and I get very excited. And then she would shut down and she would say, okay, Mom, this conversation is over. And I kept on saying to myself, because that repeated, you know, with her or with my son. And then I realized, how can I not be reactive, but be responsive? And reacting is kind of a knee-jerk way of just habitually doing something. Responsivity, being responsive, is to sort of take a step backward, create some distance, and say, I hear what you're saying. Can you tell me more about that? It's to ask a question rather than to go into a knee-jerk reaction. And that's what I'm working on with them, and they have complimented me that I'm being less reactive and more responsive. So that's something that's relatively new, that we are using those terms with each other.
Excellent. Wonderful.
And by the way, this comes from, it's not my idea, it comes from an amazing book by Jon Kabat-Zinn called Full Catastrophe Living. And it's about reactivity and responsivity. So it's a wonderful skill that I tend to, if I resonate to it, it can't be intellectual. It has to be visceral. Because if I don't integrate it into myself, then it's just a thought. It's just a concept. But if I can take little nuggets of wisdom from either individuals or from someone who is a lot more practiced than I am, it's a very important thing to do.
Could you explain the difference between visceral and integral for our audience who are all around the world? Maybe they cannot connect to these words directly.
The words are not integral. The words are intellectual.
Oh, sorry, intellectual? Yeah.
A lot of people will say, yeah, I get it. I understand that. And that's cerebral. That's in your head.
Cerebral,
that's a thought in your head. Cerebral.
Yes, okay.
When I know a practice is becoming natural to me, it's visceral. I literally digest it into my being, into my body. So I now know that when I'm being reactive, my body changes. My heartbeat might accelerate, or I can feel the agitation. When I'm taking in information intellectually, it just comes in. But when it's visceral, I can actually feel that it's becoming a part of me. It's not always pleasant. Sometimes it's excitability, overexcitability. But I think the difference between intellectual and visceral is it's a process of integrating the concept or integrating the new idea into myself. Does that make sense?
Yes. I'm just listening.
Yeah. I would just like to just add that in addition to what I was talking about, the influence of my father and then using it, is that I really totally believe that my children, who are pretty wise and pretty, I think, unusual, special individuals because of what they do and who they are, they're really teaching me. And it really, it's, they're not my friends. Some people want to be friends with their children. My children are my children, and I don't want to, I want to distinguish that there's a difference between a friend. There are certain boundaries that I try not to go beyond. But my children absolutely influence how I see things, and I learn so much from them, and it enables me to have a deeper and more authentic relationship with them.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so I guess I would come to a little bit on what's the value of gratitude in your life?
Is this related to children or just generally?
No, it is more, well, however you want to connect it. I'm coming to last leg of questions, so I would go with, if it depends how you feel this question resonates with you.
Okay.
So it's however you want to take it.
Yeah, it totally resonates. One of the basic part of the Buddhist practice is gratitude. It's accepting what is, and not what you want life to be, not what was, and reminiscing and saying, I wish this could be. But part of the gratitude is being present. The meditation group I follow they're followers of Thich Nhat Hahn. We read his writings, and his writings are very, very accessible. Anything from peace in every step to stillness. He's written maybe 40, 50 books. And we literally read a part of the book every time we meet for maybe 15 minutes, and then we discuss it. And gratitude is interwoven into everything that he writes. The gratitude for life, the gratitude for, I would say, not the gratitude for health, whatever state of health you're in, to be grateful for. To get joy from being present in the moment, and really understanding that the present is a gift, the gift of being here now. And often it's wonderful for gratitude. It's also great for stress reduction, because if you're really present in the moment, there's an awareness that things change. The only predictable thing in life is change. So even if things are painful, challenging, difficult, it will change. But the beauty of being grateful is that there's always something to be grateful for, and to honor that reality, and to feel the blessings and joy that one has in his or her life. The gratitude is very basic, and the greatest gratitude I know is gratitude for a loving husband, daughter, and son. That's the most gratitude that I'll ever express, probably.
Wonderful. So does Jewish tradition has that, because you're a practicing Jew, and you connected it with Buddhism? Oh,
definitely. There's something called sayings of the fathers. And one of the things that just come to mind is who is happy, who is wealthy, one who is satisfied with his lot. I get a lot of. I'm very foundationally Jewish, which makes it easy for me to learn from Buddhism, to learn from Muslims, to learn from Baha'is, because I feel so rooted Jewishly. My roots go down, but my spirit goes up, and I can take in the teachings, the practices, the beauty of so many other teachings. And but it comes from my being really rooted Jewishly, and I've had very positive upbringing Jewishly, from going to Hebrew school to being bat mitzvah to being confirmed to living in Israel for 3 years and to always affiliating with a synagogue. So I'm not what you call a religious Jew, but I am a very traditional Jew, and I consider the holidays and the peoplehood that I feel totally basic to my selfhood.
Beautiful. Thank you. So, what is the value of time for you?
The value of time?
Yes.
What do you mean, time in my life or time right now?
Well, how do you see time for your life, for yourself? Briefly tell me.
Well, actually, of late, being in my 70s makes me realize that more than 3/4 of my life is over. And that can, if I wouldn't say keeps me up at night, but if I have to get up in the middle of the night, that is what I think about. That is, and it's humbling because it makes me aware that I have to use my time very consciously and to make sure that I'm accomplishing what I think I should be accomplishing. And again, what I've learned from my father, what I've learned from Judaism is, the whole concept of tikkun olam, the repairing of the world. So what can I do in my small way, in the life that I have and in the years that I have, to contribute to that repair, to the brokenness that is everywhere. Brokenness in people and systems and in reality, in a lot of our communities. So I think of time as more precious than ever, and I'm aware of the passage of time. And it truthfully does scare me somewhat, because it's not as many years as I had 20 years ago. So it's humbling.
I appreciate your honesty. Thank you. So I guess should be a good question, because I'm coming to the last leg of questions, and I had a rich conversation, and I want to ask you a few more questions. What is the purpose of your life?
The purpose of my life? Oh, that's a big one. My husband was in the kitchen and said, to serve me. Yes, dear. I think that it's hard to boil it down because it's many things, but I think the word connection is a very important one in my life. That when I think about over the years, from school through college, through adventures, marriage, raising children, retirement, the one thread, the one vibrant thread of many threads is feeling connected to people and feeling connected within myself, because I don't know if one can really connect with others if they don't have a sense of, if not fulfillment, awareness of what one needs to be fulfilled, satisfied,
So you feel fulfilled?
It's not an end product. I feel like much of what I'm doing is fulfilling. I don't know if I'll ever totally feel fulfilled, because I think that's always an ongoing part of life. There's a big difference. I used to feel like, when I was younger, I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough clothes or earrings or adventures or boyfriends or something like that. And now I'm very much aware that the word that I'm thinking of now is satisfied. I feel like I'm more satisfied than I've ever been in my life at the point I'm in my life.
Beautiful.
And probably the only thing that would give me the greatest satisfaction that's missing now, to be perfectly truthful, is grandchildren. Because I'm waiting very eagerly for grandchildren. My children aren't quite going along with that need of mine. They joke with me about it. They know that I want that, and they know that they do want to be parents. And they're both getting close to, I think, accomplishing that. So I think that's one great unmet desire for me is to be a grandparent and to grandparent with Len and to see my two beautiful, wonderful children as parents. I think that will be beyond joyous.
Wow. I hope you will see that soon. Wonderful.
Yes, thank you.
So how do you reach this point that you are at? Can you say something about it briefly, or if you want more time, tell me. Like, how do you reach to this point of fulfilling point that you feel very satisfied and fulfilled to some extent to this point that where you are now? Is there a formula? Is there is it an individual journey?
I could say two things. Number one, I am not a perfectionist. I am not a person who has to have a house a certain way or I have to do things a certain way. I'm a little more freewheeling. I'm a little bit more loose than that. So I don't feel like there's not perfection anywhere. So I don't expect that I'm going to be a perfect human being. I know no one is. So my expectations, I do have expectations in the world, but I don't expect that I'm going to be this great, wonderful person. So that I do have many satisfactions. And I realize that beyond the family satisfaction, which I think I've talked about a lot, I am blessed with wonderful friends. I am blessed with some family members who are meaningful in my life. And I have really strong connections with quite a few people. Sometimes it's through the internet, sometimes it's the phone, and sometimes it's face-to-face. But there's a lot of connection in my life. And as a gerontologist, what I would tell the people who were studying with me is you have your health, you have living situation, but you need meaningful social interaction. And without that, it's really hard to be fulfilled as older adults. We need meaning in our life. Meaning matters. And I think that I'm very aware that there's a lot of meaning in my life, in what I do and in what I share with others. And I think that is the most satisfying part of my life, is I've created meaning, and meaning comes to me in my interactions.
Beautiful. Thank you. And before I ask you the last question, one more question is about a message of hope, and I think you will be the perfect person to give that. Any message of hope you would like to give?
Well, I'll tell you, it's really hard to maintain hope these days. I don't want to get political, but the world feels more broken, more divisive, and more tense than I can remember. I almost can't watch news these days or read much of the newspaper. I'm very, very much a part of the resistance movement. I think that the current president and the administration and the way the Republican Party is acting is beyond civility, beyond moral. So that is the downside. The upside and the hope comes from an amazing amount of clergy, grassroots people, friends who are hopeful that by banding together, by really thinking peace, thinking equity, thinking justice, we will overcome. So the peace comes from, the hope comes from knowing that there are a lot of wonderful people who are putting their bodies on the line. People who are willing to get arrested and to spend their time outdoors with other people and helping other people. And I think that is what's giving me hope. And the last point, I said that I do a meditation group with homeless. I work with chaplains So they basically do it, but I guess because I've been doing it with them for so long that they give me an opportunity to lead the groups. And for me, there is hope in encountering one person at a time and providing comfort. Just comforting someone and saying, you are important. You are in a circle with me, and I hope you have 1 or 2 minutes of peace being together with us. Knowing people are going out to the streets, knowing that people may not have enough to eat. But I really believe in the nourishment of words, that words are nourishing, and they can provide hope. And that gives me hope that I've developed what we call spiritual accompaniment. I do feel like I am spiritually accompanying some people on their journey, because I do that, and I also work at a church in Cambridge called First Church, where there's a Friday cafe, and we provide food, and I sit and I talk with people, and some of I've gotten to know pretty well, and providing that comfort and having them say to me, it matters to me that you are here today, that gives me hope. That gives me hope that comfort and a smile and an acceptance does mean something in this world.
Beautiful. And my last question is, Maxine, what lights you up?
Well, I think I probably said it already.
I know, you said it. All right, you can say it again.
Really, I do have a wonderful 42 years with Len.
Okay.
And I get so much from my children, and my daughter-in-law and my soon-to-be son-in-law, it seems like very close to that. And I have dear friends, and when I'm dancing and gardening and being with people, it lights me up. And I also get very, very heartened, sometimes when I'm singing spiritual songs, it doesn't have to be Jewish. It can, sometimes it is singing a civil rights song, We Shall Overcome, or This Little Light of Mine, I'm going to let it shine. I mean, those kinds of things do light me up. And just, knowing that there is a strength in encountering people and in love. I mean, I guess that's a word I haven't used yet, but really experiencing love and giving it. And giving it. And that's probably what lights me up more than anything.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maxine, for your time.
Oh, my pleasure.
And
thank you for your questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for staying with me through this exciting episode. Please don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode of Light Up with Shwa.